40-year-old goalkeeper just became one of the biggest stories of this World Cup. Not a 20-year-old wonder kid, a 40-year-old. And that's honestly one of the smaller surprises this tournament has produced. Here's why this matters. Every World Cup promises surprises, but this one, the first ever 48-team edition, has completely rewritten what surprising even means. So let's break down the biggest ones. Fast. Because by the end of this, you'll understand this tournament better than most people who've actually been watching every game. Stick around, because the last surprise on this list isn't even about football. Let's start with Vozinha, Cape Verde's goalkeeper. 40 years old, playing in his very first World Cup. In theory, a debut at 40 sounds like a nice footnote. In practice, he helped keep Cape Verde, a nation of 500,000 people, competitive against Spain in their opening match. This sounds like a feel-good story, and nothing more. It isn't. Cape Verde went on to become one of the smallest nations ever to reach the knockout rounds. Age is supposed to be a countdown in football. Vozinha basically ignored the memo. Here's where it gets interesting. While a 40-year-old was rewriting expectations at one end, an 18-year-old was doing it at the other. Morocco's Ayoub Bouadi walked into his first ever World Cup match and outplayed Brazil's midfield. Not competed with. Outplayed. You know the type of player people usually mean when they say generational talent. It gets thrown around too easily. But this wasn't hype. This was an 18-year-old controlling a game against one of the most talented midfields on the planet, on the biggest stage that exists. Switzerland's Johan Menzambi started this tournament on the bench. 19 minutes into his first real chance, he'd scored twice. 19 minutes. That's barely enough time to finish a pizza, and he had already put his name on the score sheet twice. This isn't just a nice moment, it's a pattern. Switzerland reached their first World Cup quarterfinal since 1954, and a bench player who nobody outside Switzerland had heard of a month earlier became a central reason why. Then there's Germany. 7 goals against Curaçao. 7. In theory, Germany beating a smaller nation is expected. In practice, a 7-1 scoreline instantly reshaped the entire conversation around who the tournament favorites actually were. Here's the thing about a result like that. It creates pressure as much as praise. Once you put up a number like 7, everyone expects it again. And that's not always a gift. So here's the twist. Not every surprise at this World Cup happened on the pitch. FIFA's mandatory hydration breaks, designed to protect players from extreme heat, have become one of the most talked about, most argued over parts of the entire tournament. Players say the breaks kill momentum right when a game gets going. Critics call it a shameless cash grab disguised as player safety. Fans just want the 90 minutes to feel like 90 minutes again. This sounds like a small logistical detail. It isn't. It's become one of the loudest debates of the entire competition. The biggest surprises of this World Cup weren't really about giants losing. They were about who showed up ready when nobody was watching. A 40-year-old goalkeeper, an 18-year-old midfielder, a bench player with 19 minutes to prove himself, and even the rules themselves becoming part of the story. So here's a question worth sitting with. In a 48-team tournament with this many storylines colliding at once, is it even possible for a World Cup to go exactly as predicted anymore? If this helped you catch up on everything you missed, subscribe, because there's still more tournament left and more surprises coming.